And good morning.
Hi.
So we're live. Let's wait for a second because we got to say good morning and, hope that everyone gets together here as we start this fine and beautiful Friday.
Yes, I've got my Indictmas Day hat on, and we have Indictment Day poppers ready.
Oh.
This is going to clear the dog out.
Wait, okay, ready?
Yeah.
These scare me. They didn't go. Effective. That's because I am in fact scared of them.
Oh, no.
It knows. It knows I am afraid.
One more. Whee! Indictmas Day. Woo!
And for anyone that ever watches this show, now you know I am afraid of any popping sounds, no matter how gentle they are. Me and the dog, we are together on this thing.
He cleared out.
When I was a small and tiny child, yes, now imagine me as a small and tiny child. There was a game. That's a baby picture. I was a little older than the baby picture of me. There was this game though where we had like these balloons, and I don't know, they were like supposed to be snakes, and you put these little goofy cutout cardboard eyes, and it would have a little piece of what do you call it? Sandpaper. And your idea was to have these very long balloons, and you would whack the balloons of your friends, and their little sandpaper tongues, they were supposed to be snakes, and their little sandpaper tongues would pop the other balloons, and you were supposed to be the one with the last balloon.
Is that a British thing?
I don't know. I was younger than 7. That was the first summer I went to England. So
hi, John.
That's an American thing. Anyway, terrified me. Like I was holding my balloon up and I'm supposed to try to pop, and I'm like, no, God, it'll make that sound. Yeah, I would hold it in my hand and then dive to the ground and cover my head. Hate popping sounds. That's me. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's enough about my psyche.
This is now a bridge to a better world. You want to start?
Oh, no, really.
No, really?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, this is now a bridge to a better world. I'm Teresa Mitchell. That's Audie Raven. And, it is Indictmas. And so that's principally what we'll talk about here.
We're a little irreverent. We're a little, not irrelevant, a little irreverent because it's a day that there's actually good news.
Yeah, it's something. It's nice to have something to push back the threat of nuclear war.
Well, it doesn't really. We're still under threat of nuclear war. Yeah. And climate catastrophe is still ongoing, and there's gun violence that has reached proportions of absolute madness and terror in this country. But all that for one moment, let's push that aside for just one moment and say, woo! Trump got indicted last night. Yesterday.
Wouldn't it be nice to have an accountability contagion in which, Cheney, Bush, Rumsfeld, and Wolfowitz were held to account for their genocidal activities, or in which the Sherman Antitrust Act were actually enforced? How many major grocery stores do we have now? I mean, we have so few that the oligopoly can just set the prices at anything they want.
Because Kroger ate the world.
Yeah. And, we have laws against that, but so what? These are rich people. We don't enforce those laws. Or we could have corporate charters honored. Most people don't know that corporations have to promise to benefit the community. Ha, ha, ha. What a fucking joke. Anyway, or union laws upheld so that Starbucks billionaire, what's-his-face,
what's-his-face, never will forget
would
him.
actually be in trouble for continually busting union, for breaking the law. And for breaking the law, it's just a cost of doing business, and it's a very small cost of doing business, because those laws are just a joke. We don't enforce or uphold. We don't have accountability for rich people, so it's really nice to have an indictment day. Well, so here it is, indictment weekend, and I've already gotten a good start on the celebrations. It reminds me, of course, of the impeachment celebrations, and they were good times. And it occurs to me that, at least the Dems did, and a few Republicans did look up from their daily ritual of licking corporate boots, maybe smack their lips for a second, and actually tried to bring Trump to account with 2 impeachments. Of course, the Senate blocked that, and I could go on about that, but of course they did. And so he wasn't really held to account on that, and used it for political bluster. But maybe that cracked the ice a little bit and we didn't notice. New York has taken precautions against angry mobs, though it seems so far no group either in Florida or New York has exceeded a handful of pitiful-looking hierodules of the Church of MAGA. Mary Trump, the psychologist related to Scooby-Coo, says she thinks she can see through Trump's bravado and that he is doubtless appalled at the prospect of actually having to go down to the same desk, as Al Sharpton pointed out, where the falsely accused New York Five were taken into custody and have to mash his petulant fingers into the NYPD ink pad like all the other criminals.
There is just, I mean, this challenges me in one way, because I am pretty staunchly abolitionist, right? I really do want to do away with our carceral system. I think carceral system that I think that we are not well served by locking people away. That restorative justice is really the way to go to cut down on recidivism and to actually supply justice instead of some weird, medieval torture punishment stuff. And that said, I want to see Trump perp walk. If this is the system we have, I want to see the highest and mightiest, as it were, actually suffer the same consequences that they've been meting out to the rest of us.
It's a system of intimidating workers and women and people of color, and as part of that. But we sure as hell don't want to start with Trump if we're going to reform it. So I remember covering the Enola Hill logging protest back in '95. And the cops angrily dragged me out of their precious exclusion zone where the trees are being cut. And it's a secret, And they were being smashed into the Mount Hood soil, destroying the riparian habitat. And I was there taking notes for reporting, and they charged me with basically a burglary charge, entering as in breaking and entering, but without a breaking because that was a bit of a stretch, in an open forest, I guess. And they fingerprinted me at their nasty little jail compound there in Clackamas County. And I remember it. It really makes me think that Trump is going to do just about anything he can to avoid that experience. And then once he does it, he'll be a changed man, not for the better. We all know it won't be for the better. So this is the first time this has ever been done to a U.S. president. And I think that's bizarre when you think of the genocidal rampages of, I don't know, just pick a few presidents, Theodore Roosevelt, Andrew Jackson, George Bush the Lesser, just for a starter, or for Jefferson's rapey buggery of his slave Sally. So I won't pretend that it represents some long-awaited ascendancy to responsibility for the new United States, as Al Cap used to smirk. All the same, it is worth the beer and popcorn. All these are business fraud charges, 30 of them, according to reports. And if you and I were to shift our business records to avoid taxes or election jiggering charges, we would fully expect to be charged if caught and to be tossed into the hoosegow. So I reject the idea that the charges are insubstantial, only if we accept that some people are above the law. Would they be insubstantial? So these are felonies. So wouldn't it be nice, you were saying?
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay, wouldn't it be nice if this event represented, however, the initiating crack of a contagion, like the first crack on the river ice in the Athabasca in the spring, or that
nice
first soggy, stinking mat of sargasso weed arriving at the expensive white sand at Miami Beach?
Another fine image.
I'd like to think that charges will follow regarding the outrageous and mob-like bullying of the Georgia election officials. And of course, the big crime was the attempt to use a bloody shit-smearing jackass mob to wrest the last shreds of actual democratic power and participation away from the majority voters of the United States of America. And other comments have noted that this mere covering up of the pussy-grabbing charge is the first ever versus the next president, that even Tricky Dick Nixon avoided that. And so these further charges do not have to break that plane. Whatever charges follow will not be the first ever. So it's also a sad damn day when you think that we collectively have failed to rein in our compatriots for all these years, that we stand in the daunting, riveting, cavernous landscape in which we must finally confront not just this man, but his deluded and dangerous stochastic terrorists. We have seen attempts, mostly thwarted so far, to promote the MAGA cause with random violence and, of course, the coordinated and pitifully incompetent coup attempt of January 6, 2021. Just 2 years ago, we were that close to massive civil war bloodshed, and we're not out of the woods.
For sure.
We can't even see the river.
For sure. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just trying to take that in because it's coming at me really quickly. And yes, I concur. Absolutely. I just to digest. Hopefully then what we will see is more charges coming forward for the other crimes that Trump has been involved with. We can see more charges coming forward for his attempt at election tampering in Georgia. We can see, the charges coming forth from the files, the confidential files found in Mar-a-Lago, even as he kept assuring, his lawyers kept assuring, no, they've turned everything over. They've turned everything over. Oh, no, there's some more. There's some more. And what was he doing with those? So there's all of these. And then, of course, there's the inciting of the shit smearing coup raisers there on January 6th.
So many crimes. Where do you start? I mean, the emoluments.
Well, so you apparently start with one DA that has the chutzpah to actually say, no, you're not above the law, and we're gonna charge you.
Yep, his name is Bragg, and we will remember him for that. And thank you, Mr. Bragg. Yeah, what about the emoluments? What about, I mean, I'm sure there's a way to charge it because it is a crime. It was a crime for that jackass to burnish his ego instead of confronting the fact that he needed to prevent 1 million of us dying from COVID. He did nothing, worse than nothing. He did worse than drag his feet. He tried to say that it wasn't happening.
He tried to say it wasn't happening. He tried to say it would be over by August. And then he tried to say that we could just, insert some sort of UV light into some sort of orifice and that could maybe cure us. And I will always remember Burks falling off her chair at that one.
Yeah.
I mean, the man was terrible. The man continues to be terrible. We all know that. And I today am just a scooch happier knowing that finally somebody is trying to serve up some justice.
Yeah. I mean, pardon me for going back to it, but his benighted and intellectually helpless followers are still dying of COVID because they are determined to defy it, in the way of, him ripping his mask off when he returned. You remember that little scene when he returned to the White House? So as Amy Goodman noted, Trump, on the advice of his astonishingly satanic advisor, Stephen Miller, called for mob rule at his rally in Waco, a place chosen to recall the memory of the FBI's horrific attack on the white power, and we're not supposed to remember this part, child molester shaman David Koresh. Naturally, the pedophilia is not emphasized, since the idea is to whip up the MAGA heads with the idea that Democrats are likely to attack their children, perhaps led with a vanguard of female-to-male transgender bearing AR-15s shooting rainbow bullets. I mean, I paint all my bullets in rainbow. Senator J.D. Vance wrote on Twitter Monday, speaking of, by the way, this is Trans Day of Visibility. So I'll just be, hi there, I'm trans. And lately I've been working on my voice, and it is really, really difficult. One of the reasons it's so difficult is that when I first openly transitioned in 2001, I was a bus driver. And I tried, and there's so many, I raised my voice, and I try to make it breathier. I do what I can to make it sound feminine. And I was trying to do that on the voice, and it generated a chorus. I mean, over the week that I tried to do that, literally hundreds and hundreds of Portland citizens engaged in the most raucous mob scene, mocking me, humiliating me just as hard as they could and as long as they could, continually, as I tried to drive a 20-foot long bus, a 40-foot long bus down the streets of Portland.
Which does not really show much in the way of their, well, first, I mean, utter inhumanity and fuck them for being humiliating and mocking. But again, doing this to a bus driver who's supposed to be safely transporting them in a large vehicle is just effing stupid.
They were outraged. They were in a fury beyond the capacity to think rationally, and no one can take that sort of mockery. And so my voice is still like this, and I would much prefer to be able to at least turn it on to save my butt when I'm in an area where I can't afford to be read, especially because of Trump and Texas and all of these assholes deciding that transgender people are pedophiles, that we're the enemy, and now that we're going to attack them with AR-15s, despite the fact that, I'll get around to that in a minute. Senator J.D. Vance wrote on Twitter Monday, if the reports are accurate that a trans shooter targeted a Christian school, there needs to be a lot of soul searching on the extreme left. Giving in to these ideas isn't compassion, it's dangerous. Now, this is This is fundy Christian talk. The idea is you're giving in to something that Satan is whispering into your ear. And here's a quote for you. How much hormones like testosterone and medications for mental illness was a transgender Nashville school shooter taking? Everyone could stop blaming guns now, end quote. That, of course, is Marge Green, hours after the news broke of the shooting, and while people were still in shock and disbelief of the death of their children. Fox News host Laura Ingraham spent 7 minutes on a segment she titled A Trans Killer Monday, in which she condemned Democrats' objections to the passage of harmful GOP legislation to ban gender-affirming healthcare. And I don't want to take this event away from the fact that what it reveals, of course, is that we've been selling these horrible war weapons in which you can shoot war bullets as quickly as you can possibly pull the trigger, and that you have magazine after magazine and slaughter, if you want, dozens and dozens of people. And the fact that while those guns were banned, there were 70% less such slaughter. And let me throw out another number. Since Charles Whitman first gunned down people in the 60s from the University of Texas Tower, there have been 2,800 and change mass shootings in the United States. And I've often commented that if there is national karma, perhaps this has something to do with this being such a bloody-minded imperialist nation and so devoted to military killing. But yeah, 2,800 and change, and there are maybe 3 or 4 of these people who are not like 99% of them conservative, white, cis males. 3 or 4 out of the 2,800 are trans. And so now, and that is sufficient because the delusion of the MAGA crowd has nothing to do with reality. And I know I've also brought this up before, but the delusion of the blood libel had nothing to do with reality. It is really extremely absurd, unbelievably detached from reality if you look at the details of it. And this is the same thing because these people, as I've mentioned, have been stripped of their capacity for intellectual self-defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to just maybe throw out another statistic that's a little more focused, because you're talking over 2,000 since the mid 60s.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at how things are accelerating, because there's been 130 since the beginning of this year.
Grab my coffee. Yeah.
That's 130 out of that 2,000. So that's a bit of a little bit more than a 50-year span that you're talking about. 55-year span, I think, since the Texas shooting. Yeah. Well, in the last 3 months, there's been 130. In the last 3 months, 130. That's more than one a day, right?
Astonishing, isn't it?
And out of those, one person is identifying as trans. There may have been somebody that identified as non-binary. That's really been we're not sure what happened with that. But to suddenly pivot and to say, we were right. You trans folks are murderous, aren't you? Is to well, let's just say, use politics to grossly paint inaccurate points and try to score one in your favor. It's wrong, right? And so we need to be focused, very focused, on the idea that assault rifles, assault weaponry do not belong in the hands of regular folks. That arms meant for war need to be, kept on war grounds.
They're printed up in cute colors and designs now. You can get a pink AR-15. You can get it in camouflage. You can get it with cute little slogans on it. It's like buying a bumper sticker or something.
Yeah, make sure that you express your subculture affiliation and personal habits through the personalization of your AR-15. When I got these glasses, I got cute little crescent moons there. You can maybe see that right there on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got cute little crescent moons etched into the earpieces because I want people, I want to profess my love of the moon, my witchiness, my following. So I want to personalize my glass. I want to personalize my AR-15. I want to have it like in my favorite color with a little design. Like, this is really just inappropriate in the extreme. It is not okay. And it is, in fact, a sign of a very, very, very sick society. So here's to increased, uh, here's to a decrease of arms on the street. As we are looking at Portland's record shootings, 3 shootings last weekend, um, the homicide rate in the city has skyrocketed. And across the country, the rate of the mass shootings just sky high. We need something to end the violence. We need something to actually increase empathy, connection, and love. What is going on with the mass shooters? Not only do they have access to guns, they're alienated as fuck, right? And so, how do we break the alienation that's going on? It's only become worse in the widening gulf of the culture wars, right? We are dehumanizing each other um, as habit at this point. How do we actually see each other as human beings? How do we see each other as those worthy of love and life? How do we humanize each other again? How do we heal? Those are the questions I am really left with this week.
Good questions.
As I celebrate Indictmas. And another thing to celebrate is the end of uh, the Vatican, the end of the Vatican's uh, papal bulls from the mid 16th century, all amounting to the Doctrine of Discovery for the Vatican. Those pulled together several papal bulls that basically gave Europeans the right to go out and conquest. It was done for colonial interests. It was done for the Queen of Spain. It was done for the Church of Rome. It was done for the elite of Europe. And it was done at the expense of the rest of the world. It was the cause of genocide throughout the Americas. It was the cause of genocide throughout Africa. It is how the world became its colonial map that you know today. And so I am also celebrating, not only is it Transvisibility Day, not only is it Indictmas, but in fact, we also have uh, this Pope, you know, who's done more good things than most popes, though not perfect,
He's a translator.
you know, but he has in fact started to make formal apologies for the genocide of the church's past. And, you know, I never thought I would see the day when I heard a pope actually flat out say that those papal bulls were put forth for colonial interests and against the interest of humanity. Um, the statement from the Vatican said that the papal documents were manipulated for political purposes by competing colonial powers to justify immoral acts against indigenous peoples that were carried out at times without opposition from ecclesial authorities. I might go one better. They were cheered on
Yeah,
by
that's
ecclesial
just what I was thinking.
authorities.
They got
Um,
their tithe from that and more. So
well, there was Bartholomew de Casas. Is that his name? There's one guy that was really good.
yeah, Bartholomew de las Casas.
One guy that was really
with
good.
Columbus. Yeah.
So there was I'll give him that much. There was one ecclesiastical authority that was possibly trying to do good. But other than that, it's not like they just sort of failed to stop it. It was like they were like the cheer team. They were, in fact, writing the documents that egged them on and gave them, divine right. So, but the Pope did say it was good to recognize these errors.
It's a
It's
start.
it just reminds me when the church apologized to Galileo 400 years after his execution. I'm sure Galileo's resting a little easier these days, knowing that he could finally get out of purgatory or whatever, wherever they go. Um, so I say that. I say that. It's a good day. That pleases me as a student of history, and somebody who does like to see wrongs righted, even 600 years later. I'm good with that.
Yeah, it's a good thing. And I'm enjoying the comments here. Thanks for y'all writing in. Let's see. The first step
So-
is to see to everyone's basic needs. I quite agree to that. And
Well, it's true. That is a way forward, because alienation does does stem from people feeling like they are alone, that they have no one looking out for their needs, that they are scrabbling, they are having a tough time.
yeah, and perversely, that is something that the MAGA phenomenon kind of offers. That and QAnon is like you're in with the other people who like have the only true, truth. You can put a capital T on that, and it feels better than absolutely nothing at all, I guess.
Well, sure. It's it's the promise of family, right?
Yeah.
You can belong here.
Ugh.
Anyways, so fighting alienation, making sure everyone's basic needs are met. That is really
Well, that's something that you
an
did.
important thing.
That was something that you did for years and years at KBOO Community Radio, back when it was community radio and everyone was welcome to come into the building. You didn't just coordinate that. I remember that you were instrumental in creating community, and you could see how much it was needed. You could see how well people responded to that.
Well, and now in the years of the pandemic, the years of isolation, the years of increased social instability, with the culture wars, alienation has only gotten worse, with folks being more desperate, materially desperate, with folks seeing the can kicked further down the road in terms of housing and healthcare needs being met. These are it breeds deeper alienation. And so, what do we do as a community to come together and say, no, we are going to take care of each other, and everyone does have a home and a right to be here. What do we do? And so that is, I think, the first duty of a revolutionary at this time, is to come up with strategies to break down alienation.
I want to say generally that alienation has its own momentum, and it reasserts itself. That's how well trained we are with it. I'm certainly no exception. But if you're in a community organization, a community radio, I'm not going to say just KBOO, and you hear people saying, I'm just really, this place is a mess. I'm so tired of these people coming in here. People really need to just get down to, fill in the blank, whatever the task is, distributing food or doing community or doing radio. When you hear that from someone, it's time to say to that person, you need to take a break. Because if it ain't about community, and if you don't have time for people and their peccadillos, you're not doing community. And
yeah, that would be for any volunteer organization.
Yeah, it's always there, so you have to watch out for it.
People are messy.
Yeah,
but it's our messiness that kind of makes us glorious. Let's face facts.
That's a good thing. Plenty of messiness.
So I want to encourage you, if you are watching right now, and I dare say you are, go ahead and hit the like button on this video. Please leave a comment below. If you're watching this later, let us know what you're thinking. Also, let us know if there are certain points or I don't know, matters of history or whatever that you'd like to see us talk about in the future.
Yeah, do what you can to chip away at our algorithm and forced obscurity.
And let folks know that we do exist. I appreciate your efforts to that end. I see folks retweeting these things. Whoa!
Oh, I think we just went off the air.
No, I don't think we. Oh, goodness gracious me!
Oh, we're still there.
All yes, right. We are. I don't think we went off the air. I think that was
your computer decided to do whatever.
That was my computer deciding to take over. So let's see. We're going to hit this button right away, because that's something I might have done at the beginning of this. So that all said, thanks for being with us. That was confusing as heck. Is there any other point you wanted to make?
Oh, I'm all ranted out for this morning.
All right. Well, then let me move forward into our Tarot moments. Our Tarot moments. We have this week. What do we have? We have the Page of Swords inverted. We have the Empress, and we have the Six of Coins,
Oh,
the
the
Six
Empress
of
is cute.
Pentacles. I know the Empress looks a lot like my Libby.
Yeah.
Anyway, what does this all mean? The Six of I'm sorry, the Sword of the Sword of Pages, the Page of Swords. I'm a little discombobulated from my computer going AWOL there for a second. So the Page of Swords warns, especially inverted, warns us to try to focus, try to bring our focus in. It would be a great card for me right now, in fact. Focus in, don't jump at shadows, don't lose focus when distractions are around you. We are a sea, right, of distractions. We have so many things popping up, vying for our attention. And we need to, in fact, conserve our resources, conserve our energy, and stay focused on those things that actually matter to us. And we know actually this week, uh, we might have an easier time, not necessarily having to scrabble, not necessarily having to um, uh, scrap and fight as hard as we have other times. The Empress is a card that says you got this. That what you actually need is already with you. That you can move forward confidently. And mm, the Six of Pentacles says more or less the same thing, but it reminds us to pay it forward. And that when we do have some comfort in our lives, to share it with those around us and to help take care of each other, to help it's that the rising tide floats all boats. Is that the phrase?
Mhm.
As opposed to the climate change, the rising tide, wipes out the coastline and creates death and destruction for all. It's not that rising tide. It's the happy rising
It's a
tide.
cleaner, nicer rising tide.
And so, um, as you are doing okay, look around you and see if other people might be struggling. And this could be emotionally or materially, right? It kind of emphasizes the message I was talking about a minute ago with breaking through alienation. As your heart is full, as you're in experiencing something that is, I'm going to say close to comfort, that is in fact comfort, look around you and hold out a hand and share. And that's what I have in the cards this week. Focus your attention on things that really matter, and look for ways to be kind to each other because we can, because you have that strength and you have that ability, and it will make the world a better place. It will have immediate impact. And that is a wonderful and rare thing, isn't it? So please take care of each other this week. And always, but the cards emphasize it this week. With that, I've got one other thing to say. On this trans visibility day, on this day that the Pope says that the papal bulls underscoring 500 years of colonialism aren't valid anymore, on this day that Trump is indicted, the first ex-president of the United States to actually face criminal charges, on this day, I got a movie recommendation. I so rarely do this. Earlier this week, my friend VJ and I went to see Moving On because we like Lily Tomlin and we thought this would be a funny movie, and it might not be a great movie, but it's got Lily Tomlin and that's got to be good. It was, in fact, to my mind, brilliant. It's one of my favorite films at this time. So rare that a film goes from, I don't know what this is, to I could see this 1,000 times with friends. Um, it is a wonderful portrayal of older folks, and it has an honesty to it about devastating impact of trauma throughout one's life, like I rarely see portrayed in a film. It was funny, it was bittersweet, it was sad, it was everything. So do yourself a treat. Go see Moving On. I'm dragging Teresa to go see it again today. And with that, Jabara, I'm so excited to see that somebody put 42 signs on poles that say love on a pink and blue background.
Transcouver, I love that.
That's really wonderful. And if that can happen in Vancouver, it can happen anywhere. Let's love each other and help each other through this maze. Thank you very much for joining us on this Indictmas
Shall I say it?
and Transvisibility Day. Yes.
And our love goes out to you and to all the ships at sea. Bye now.
See you next week.
Watch out for those rising tides. Bye-bye.